Hi guys, and welcome to our last chapter of Algebra 2 class. This week we will be doing chapter 11. Now we only have a week worth of new lessons because we're coming to the end of the semester, right? So we will have new lessons this week. This will be our last week of new video lessons. Next week is our test, and then we have a week to study for finals, and then we're done. So it's going to be very quick. Because we only have a week worth of lessons, we will only be doing two sections of chapter 11. 11-6, analyzing data. And then we're also going to be doing 11-10, which is just a different way of analyzing data. All right, today's going to be a little bit heavy with the vocabulary, but I think you'll find that today will be a very nice break from the types of problems that we have been doing. So when we're analyzing data, we're looking for a measure of central tendency. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can find the central tendency. You'll see it says it's the middle of the data set, but different people have different definitions of what the middle is. And depending on what you're trying to figure out about the data, you might use a different middle. So let's talk about the different middles that a data can have. So the first one is called the mean, also known as the average. And there's that fancy symbol. The symbol is an X with a line over the top. That just means find the mean. And to find the mean or the average, you add all of the numbers together, and then you need to get an answer for that. And then you would divide that by the total amount of numbers that you had. Okay? So add everything up and then divide by the amount of numbers that you had in your list. That's the mean or the average. We can also find the literal middle of the list, which is called the median. So to find the median, you need to take all of your numbers and put them in order from smallest to biggest. Okay, so you're ordering them numerically. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find the number that's right smack dab in the middle of the list. So what I normally do, I'll line up all my numbers, I'll put my fingers on the end, and I'll count until I hit the middle. Now, if there's an odd amount of data, then you will be able to put both of your fingers on the same number, and that will be your median. But if there's an even amount of data, then when you're counting towards the middle, you're going to get to two numbers right next to each other, but you won't be able to, there's not going to be a number in between them. So if there's an even amount of data and you're doing your fingers and you go right next to each other and you can't go on top of each other, then what you do is you take those two numbers that your fingers are on, you add them together and divide by 2. You find the average of those two numbers. So that's the median. Now there's some other things that we can find about data. We can find the mode. The mode is the number that occurs the most often. Mode's a little bit tricky. You do have to have a number that occurs more than once. If every number only happens once, then you say that there's no mode. So if there isn't a number that happens multiple times, then there's no mode. You could have one mode. So let's say a number happens 3 times and every other number only happens once, right? Then the number that happens 3 times that you have a triple of, that's your mode. If you have a number that happens 3 times and another number that happens twice, then the number that happens 3 times, that's your mode. But you can also have multiple modes. So let's say you have a couple numbers and they all happen twice and everything else only happens once. Well, then every number that happens twice is the mode. So mode, again, is a little bit tricky. It is possible to not have a mode. It is possible that there's a very obvious number that is the mode. And then it's also possible that you could have multiple modes. So multiple numbers that are all the mode. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're trying to find the mode. And again, it's the number or numbers that occur the most often, and they have to occur more than once. Okay. The last thing that we need to look for is the range. The range is how far apart it is from the smallest number to the biggest number. What's the distance between the smallest and biggest numbers? So all you have to do is take the smallest and biggest numbers and subtract them. You should already know what the smallest and biggest numbers are when you put them in order. to find your median. Now, some of these vocabulary words probably sound familiar. Hopefully, most of them do. You do need to remember which word goes with which concept. There's this cool little rhyme that we have that can help you with that if you need it. So it goes, hey diddle diddle, the median's the middle. You add then divide for the mean. The mode is the one you see the most, and the range is the difference between. So it's just kind of a fun little way to remember. We're going to go ahead and do one problem today together, and then I'll let you start working on your homework. So here is my list of numbers, and we're actually going to find just all 4 of the vocabulary words. So we're going to find the mean, the median, the mode, and the range. To start off, we'll find the mean. And I like to put the numbers in order from smallest to biggest, just straight from the get-go, just so that when I go to find my median and when I go to find my mode and actually my range, all 3 of those, it's easier to find if the numbers are listed in order. The only one where it really doesn't matter if they're in order or not is the mean. So, but doesn't hurt to have it in order. Let's find the mean or the average. To find the mean, we're going to add all the numbers up. And then we'll divide by the amount of numbers. So I counted, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So that's why I'm dividing by 8. When you're doing your work on your paper, I don't need to see that you did like the plus signs between, but I do want to see this fraction. So I would like to see for work on your paper is I want to know what did you get after you added everything together and what do you plan on dividing by? I'll probably also have an answer box for something like this on the quiz and the test. So just get into the habit of writing down this fraction. 32 divided by 8 is 4. The mean, or the average, is 4. All right, to find the median. To find the median, we put our fingers on the edges and we count towards the middle. Now, this one has an even amount of numbers. It has 8 numbers. So there's not going to be one number in the middle. I start on the 1 and the 9. Then I go to the 2 and the 5, the 3 and the 5, the 3 and the 4, and then I'm stuck. I can't go any further. So since there are 2 numbers in the middle, we need to find the number halfway between. It's pretty easy to find just by looking at it on this one. Sometimes it's not so easy though. So a really quick way to find the number that's halfway between 3 and 4 is you can add them together and divide by 2. So our median for this problem is 3.5. Now again, that was just because when we counted, there were 2 numbers together. Sometimes you will be able to count and you'll put your fingers on top of each other, and then that number will just be the median. All right, the mode. The mode is the number that happens the most often, and it has to happen more than once. Now, we do have numbers that happen more than once, so there will definitely be at least one mode for this problem. And then in this problem, we actually have 2 modes. We have 3 and 5. They both occur twice. And nothing occurs more than twice. So I feel confident, good about saying that the mode is 3 and 5. All right, the last thing that we have to find is our range. To find our range, you do the biggest number minus the smallest number. So 9 minus 1 is 8. That means the distance between the biggest and the smallest numbers is 8 spaces. It's just a coincidence that there also happens to be 8 numbers. That's not what that's really measuring. All right, guys, that's all you need to know to be able to do tonight's homework. So I will see you all tomorrow.